and it's my honor and my privilege to be the one that's up here and gets to do a lot of that, which is okay, but it's not everything, because to me and to Unity, it's really about living a spiritual life. It's about embodying these practices that we talk here so that you can have a real life experience of God. And for a lot of us, we were taught that this thing called God was outside of ourselves, and we were separate from it, and we would pray to this thing and talk to this thing, and if we followed a bunch of rules and we did all the things, then everything would be great. But if we didn't, then we didn't, and then we would spend the rest of eternity in a really hot place, right? But we do things a little bit different, and it has really been, like, to me, one of the greatest things I ever stumbled into when I was 16 years old, and I've never, ever, ever looked back. Never even thought about looking back, never questioned what I was doing. I really had felt like I'd found my home, and that's what you'll hear often with people that come in here, is they say, well, I feel like I'm home. And it's because you get to actually taste what it feels like to truly be unconditionally loved. And I don't mean the fake kind. I don't mean, well, you're loved unconditionally, but here's a list of 10 things that you have to do, otherwise, well, we know what's going to happen, right? It actually goes so much deeper in terms of your experience, what you can have, this dance that you can do with God or the divine. And for me, I found that what happened was that story was taken away from me in my past studies and everything that I was doing. And as I came into Unity and I started to explore this, I just want you to imagine it's like this really, really beautiful experience where you get to go play. And that's what we do, is we invite you to come in here and play with your spirituality. In other words, we're not afraid if you have questions. Yeah, you can have questions and you can have doubts. And guess what? You can even not agree with everything that we say, because that's called spiritual discernment. And that's what happens when you actually start doing this thing, living a spiritual life. And to me, and I'm going to be talking about it in the talk today, that's what it's about. We are a spiritual being having a physical experience, not the other way around. And often what happens is we're taught just the opposite of that. We're taught that, no, you're a physical person, and occasionally you can have this other experience. And we're absolutely, emphatically saying that's not the case. The truth is, you're a divine being, you're a spiritual being that's having a physical experience. But what happens is, in life, we're not taught that, right? Because we're taught up and we're brought up in these environments, and we're brought up by our parents, and we're brought up by religions, and we're brought up by everything else like that, and it doesn't tell us. And for me personally, I want to teach everybody this stuff. I want to tell everybody this stuff. I especially want to tell the kids. Not that I don't love you, I do, but it's like the kids. The kids are the ones, in my opinion, could you imagine living your entire life knowing that you had God sitting, right here with you, and that you're connected with this thing called God. And this thing called God really does love you unconditionally. And that you can have this experience of life. And it doesn't mean that there aren't going to be problems. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have dark days. It doesn't mean that everything goes away and it's all sunshine and rainbows. But what it does mean is when those dark times show up, then all of a sudden, you've got this thing called God that's sitting next to you, and here's what God is doing. I got you. I got you. And if you've ever felt that, it'll take one time, I promise you, it'll take one time for you to feel this, God holding you and saying, yeah, I know things are really tough right now, but I got you, and I can hold you. And that'll change everything for you. Now, here's my hope and prayer for you. You don't need to have that really difficult time. My hope and prayer for you is that you can start living that right now. We don't have to wait for the spiritual 2x4, as I call it, between the eyeballs, when you're laying on the floor in your bedroom, curled up in a corner, crying, because of whatever's going on in life, you're really, really struggling in order to have that experience. Some of us take a little bit longer to figure that out than others, me being one of them. So I've had a lot of those moments in my life. That's just me being honest. That's me being human. And by the way, we are human beings, and we do have these experiences. But what I've noticed is I start to really trust and understand this beautiful thing that I'm a part of, that we're all connected to. All of a sudden, to me, it's like, oh my God, like, I just want to party with God. That's the truth. I think God's the best game in town. And to me, when I'm connected with that, when I can feel that, and I know that God's with me 24/7, every single day, every single morning, every single night, and I get up in the morning, especially the land that we live on, which is absolutely gorgeous, and I wake up and I see the sunshine coming up and gleaming through the pine trees, I mean, it takes my breath away. And in that moment, I have to stop and just sit there for a minute and just go, God. God's here. God's here. And so it's all to me about the experience. And what I hope that when you come here and we talk and we have these gatherings, that you take these little nuggets away and just understand you really can have this experience. You really can have this dynamic. You can really have this feeling that you're loved, that you're supported, that God's here, because God's always here. And the only reason that we don't know that is because we're trying to convince ourselves in our heads, well, that's not the way it works. And my experience has been the more I can call that BS, the more God keeps tapping me on the shoulder and going, you're right, Mike. I've always been here. I've always been here. So, I'm glad you're here. We got a thing or two to say today, and a few songs to maybe sing, a few announcements to make, and I'm just really super happy you're here. So thank you, each and every one of you, for coming. It's so great to see your faces, and for us to come together in this community. I always say this, that we do this collectively, and just know that. Like, we're creating the space. So we open up the space. So I want you to imagine we're all standing in front of this big pot of soup this morning, and it's called This Experience. So what do you want this experience to be? Do you want it to be moving? Do you want it to be fun? Laughter? Joy? Happiness? Do you need some healing? Do you need a hug? Do you want to talk to somebody? You can have whatever it is you need. We can create an environment. All of us collectively create this environment. So let's make it a really cool one. Let's make this morning magical, because you're magical. We're magical in terms of what we can do and what we can create.